Hey guys, we are Aerial Photography here, back, and we have had this DJI Phantom 3 standard for a week now. So we're going to kind of go over the pros and cons and just talk about this guy after we've really had some experience with it.
Yeah, so as Kyler said, we've had it for a week. Overall, we're super happy with the performance of it. We've got some great footage. If you haven't checked it out already, go ahead and click the link above to watch our week 1 edit. It's got some pretty sweet footage in there, all 2.7K raw, very little editing done to it. So let's, before we get into it, I want to talk about the registration.
Yeah, so before we get into all the details and the things we like and dislike, one thing that you have to do before you start flying at all is register your drone. So we have printed out the registration for it, and I just have it laminated. But and as you can see, you need to put your number on the drone somewhere. And it takes maybe 5 minutes. You go on the FAA, answer some questions, put in some details. It's pretty much like registering for a car license, but it doesn't take as much information. So make sure you do that, and then you are legally able to fly within the restrictions, 400 feet, so on, so on.
I think it was $5, right?
Yeah, it's $5.
$5, yeah.
Not a big deal at all, but make sure you do that, otherwise it's not legal. So let's get into it. The pros, things we like about this thing.
So one of the things we really like, probably the top thing I like at least, is the camera. The camera is just awesome. As we said before in our unboxing and first impressions, it's 2.7K. You can film 2.7K at 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. And either of them look awesome. We haven't done any slow motion with the 60 frames per second yet, but we'll probably do a video on that later. But yeah, it's super stable. We flew it in some wind the other day. We were gonna make a video about it, but the footage we got was just too windy and you couldn't hear what we were saying. But it was 15-mile-an-hour wind, I think, and it was just awesome. It stayed completely stable. It was totally good. So the camera's awesome. If you're looking for a beginner drone, but you still want to have a high quality camera, this is gonna be a good one for you.
Yeah. So another thing is the ease of use. This thing, they say it's ready to fly out of the box, and they pretty much mean it. I mean, even after using it and going out on location, you can put the propellers on, get everything turned on and the signal connected, and you're ready to fly within 5 minutes. You want to make sure you have all the settings down and a good connection, but beyond that, super easy to get started, and it doesn't take a whole day to set up like some camera equipment does.
Yeah, right. And to go along with that easy use, while you're in the air flying it, it's super easy. I wasn't exactly sure how complicated it was going to be, but as long as you stay in that PGPS mode or FGPS mode, it's going to fly fine. You're going to be able to just let it hover and make super small corrections, and it's honestly going to do most of the work for you.
And yeah, so again, the good controller, that's something a lot of people talk about how the more advanced models, the professional and whatnot, it's a better controller for sure. But this thing is pretty great. It is plastic, but it feels good, fits well in the hands, and your phone clips in here. This is a bit weak, but honestly, that's a pretty small complaint to have about this thing, and works super well. The dials are super, super well weighted, so you don't get any shaky pans or anything.
Right, and also the app interface, using it to control the drone, is overall really good. It's easy to get used to, where all the controls are, the manual camera settings, your GPS settings, all that stuff. It's pretty easy to remember where all that is. And it has super little lag between the phone and the drone. So if you guys ever used a GoPro or anything, usually there's like a 2 or 3 second lag, I think, on live view, but this is almost zero. Like, yep. I can move my hand on the drone and I'll see it instantly on the phone. So that's really awesome.
Also, one thing I forgot to say, we just added a lanyard on here, which is actually very helpful when controlling it, because it takes the weight off your fingers while holding it. So put it around here, and it kind of hangs down. Whoops. And then it just allows you, more mobility, like we said. Just makes it easier to hold.
And it looks cool. So.
Yep, that's true.
So those are a lot of things we like. The drone's pretty awesome, but there's a couple things that we don't like and we'd like to see improve, maybe in the next Phantom models. So the first thing we're kind of don't like about it is just the connection. we've had a lot of instances where the drone is just disconnected completely from the phone for like 30 seconds at a time, which is not good, not ideal. A couple times it's been our fault. One time we flew a little too close to the border in Canada, so just cell service wasn't that good, so it just disconnected that way. But other times we've been up in the air completely fine, not too high, like 250 feet, and it's just cut out for a few seconds, and that's a little concerning.
Yeah, so these things, like I said, this one doesn't have the best connection. It's still perfectly fine, and I'll take this over pretty much anything else. The connection's really good, but there are times when you lose it and your heart kind of stops for a second. You kind of want to make sure you have control of it again. And really the biggest thing is staying in open areas. I took this to Seattle once, and that was much harder. The signal was never that strong, just because all the towers, all the buildings, all the metal, and I was right downtown. So I think you get farther out, get near some trees, and that gets better. But the signal is definitely not perfect.
Right, and then the battery is
yeah. So
something else.
The battery, it's pretty much standard for all these drones. They're all within the 20-minute range, so it's hard to complain about it when there's nothing better. But it's definitely, it limits your flying mobility. Even if you have a second battery, you still have to take it down, and if you're doing long flights, you have to bring it back and whatnot. And I think people are trying to work on fixing that, but definitely something that, it's not my favorite about this guy.
Yeah, especially, it's not a big deal for us right now because we're just going out to different viewpoints around where we live and just getting some footage. But if you were to use this for actual film work with short films, or I wouldn't think you'd use the standard for professional film, but if you did, it's definitely going to be hard because you're going to have to do a lot of takes, and with only a 25-minute flight time, you can't really just keep it hovering in the air the whole scene. So that's a bit of a hindrance, but we're hoping to see that improve in the next Phantom series, which I'm sure, because the Phantom 2 had a flight time of 10 minutes, the Phantom 3 has a flight time of 20 minutes, so hopefully we'll get in that 30-40 minute range in the next one. And then, so kind of one thing, as you can see here, we have the blade protectors on, and we bought these because I think they're $18 on DJI's website. Not that expensive, so I mean, it's not going to break the bank, but also they're good quality plastic. I mean, as you can see, if you hit them, you can tell that it's not going to damage the wing if you run into a wall or anything. But they're just extremely inconvenient. I don't know if you can see, but they have to be screwed into the bottom under the prop, which is fine. It makes sense because then it's nice and stable and supported and stuff. But it's just, these don't fit in any of the cases you're going to be able to buy. And if you want to use the cases, you're going to have to unscrew these after every flight to put it in the case. The screws are small, you're going to lose them. And so it's just not worth it.
It's a hassle, that easily, I don't know that it's worth the hassle. And, it doesn't fit in many cases. I'm sure you can fit it in a big Pelican hard shell case, but if you don't want to be carrying around such a big case for really such a small drone, not worth it.
Yeah, I think one thing that if you're going to be doing a lot of indoor flying for some reason, and you're going to be in that ATTI mode off GPS, it's going to drift around a little bit, these would probably be helpful because it's not going to just kill the prop if you bump into a wall or a door or something. Yeah. But for what we're doing, we're probably going to take them off after this video and never use them again.
Yep. Yeah, so good. Glad we bought them, but probably will never use them.
Yeah, and then, so why would you buy this drone? Well, we bought it for a few reasons. One, it has a really good camera. We've used the Chroma 2, like we've said, and I think this has a better camera than the Chroma 2. I think the Chroma 2 films at 1080. Like we said, this goes up to 2.7K, which is much higher, looks much crisper. Colors are awesome. So that's one good plus. That's one reason we bought it. And also the price, we got this for $500. Compared to the Advanced and the Professional, that's a really big price difference.
Yeah, over 50%.
Yeah, and we didn't buy the Advanced just because we're super new to the whole drone scene, and we've done a lot of other photography, but we really just wanted a basic drone to get us into it. So that became to the standard. And then the Professional, our computer can't handle the 4K.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason to get the Professional at this point.
you know, like we said, we're no experts or anything, but there's a lot of talk about the standard versus the professional and the advanced and whatnot. A lot of people, you know, point you towards the higher end models, but the standard so far has been everything that we've kind of wanted it to be, and it doesn't feel like we're being held back by it at all. It hasn't limited our creativity or, you know, ability to shoot things or whatnot. So overall, really no complaints. If you're thinking about, you know, the difference between the three, don't count this one out because it can do a lot. Especially compared to, you know, the $30 drones that you buy. This is a different thing. This has a lot of you know, a lot of technology built into it, so it can handle a lot.
Yeah, and kind of like if you're trying to decide which one to buy between the standard, the advanced, or the professional in the Phantom series, I think this, if you're just starting out with drones like we are, and you really just want something that's not going to break the bank, but it's going to get really good results, I would go with the DJI Phantom 3 standard because we love it so far. But if you're coming over from a different model of drones like Unique or Blade or anything like that, maybe you want to go to the advanced or professional. One of the biggest reasons we didn't buy the professional is just because the 4K, our current computer setup can't take full advantage of the 4K footage, so there's really no reason to get it right now.
Yeah.
And we just decided we're just starting out, so the standard was the one for us.
Yeah. So I think that just about wraps it up. If you have any questions, comment below. We can maybe answer them in our next video. But thanks for watching. Again, this was just a little, you know, how we thought about the DJI Phantom 3 pros and cons. So we'll see you later in our next video. See ya.